Alright, time to share some of the bismuth artwork that I've made over the last few weeks. One of the first things I got fascinated with is melting some bismuth, putting it in a glass container like this, and as it starts to solidify, pour some of the bismuth back into the pot and to make a crystal like this. I call it a bismuth coin almost. Except that I didn't realize how brittle glass is when the temperature changes like that. And one glass container shattered completely while I was doing this. Scared the crap out of me. And so I'll have to find some other container to use for this. It does make very nice crystals. I'll need to get a real crucible at some point. I'll need to anyway for another project I'll get to in a second. I got some silicone molds to pour. So these are Halloween decorations. I find silicone doesn't do too well though. It's very floppy, and by the time you pour bismuth into it, it flops so much that it makes these jagged crystals, but nice coloring. I wouldn't want to melt this down though, because I would imagine that there's so much oxide on this that it will just crumple altogether if you were to remelt it. Bismuth doesn't like to be remelted too many times without oxidizing a lot. Here's another silicone mold that I pour into. Again, this is probably not going to recycle very well. I'll probably just keep it as is. Here's another silicone. This one's also silicone. This one turned out okay, I suppose. Now on to the better ones. Here's a graphite mold for pouring a pyramid, and I liked it so much that I took the rest of my bismuth after doing the crystals and poured them all into pyramids just for safekeeping, because it was all crumbling apart after repeated attempts to make crystals anyhow. Now supposedly these will last for 30, they're advertised to last for 30 pours, but I think that's for silver, which melts at 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. Bismuth only melts at 600 degrees Fahrenheit. It seems to last indefinitely with bismuth, at least it has for now. And this is a good way to store bismuth, I would imagine, for the long term. I like how rare bismuth is. It's almost as rare as gold. So I like to look at this and just pretend all of this is gold, right? If it were, I think I could retire today. So that's just how cheap bismuth is today. But that's not going to last forever, because bismuth is going to be used for nuclear reactors. It is used for making the transuranic elements in the future. Now earlier today I was running low on bismuth for one pour, and I made a small pyramid, and I like that even better. I should have done that earlier on. This one almost makes like a good currency, right? I can imagine after the financial systems have collapsed and gold price continues to be manipulated, we could almost use this as an alternative currency, right? Right now this has about $1 or $2 worth of bismuth. Even that's not too bad as a currency, right? For everyday barter. You might not want to buy a car with it, but for buying groceries, why not, right? But unfortunately, after repeated attempts to melt and recrystallize bismuth, I end up with a lot of bismuth oxides, and I'll have to think about what to do. I've been reading about how to turn this back into bismuth metal. It's not really worth doing it, but at the same time I want to explore the chemistry, and I hate to throw this out just because I know how rare bismuth is. So apparently what you have to do is, I'll have to get a real crucible, obviously. You heat it up until it melts. The bismuth and the bismuth oxide melts, and then you add charcoal to it, and the bismuth oxide reacts with carbon to make carbon dioxide and bismuth, and I'll definitely give that a go at some point. Anyway, so here's my Fort Knox of bismuth. We're looking at about, I want to say 20 or 30 pounds worth.